Hello, this is Mike. In this screencast, I'd like to talk about implementing tools in social media in a strategic way. And in particular, I'm going to look at the tool of blogging and think about a model for that. Really, many of these basic principles can be applied or adapted to other channels too. So think of blogging as a case study of social media implementation here rather than anything else. I'm still in the tools phase because implementation has organizational dimensions too, which we'll move on to in the next stage of the social media planning cycle. But for this session, I just want to think about the actual tool of the blog itself and how to put that together in a strategic way, ready for implementation. In particular, I want to suggest that after Golden, that there are 4 key stages in this strategic development and deployment process. There's identification of authors, readers, and subject matter, settling on a blog name and design, preparing the authors, and the actual development of content and deployment of the blog itself. So let's just walk through these 4 steps. And as I do, think about ways in which this would be adaptable for other channels too. So let's look at the strategic implementation framework, the foundations for the implementation itself. Step 1 is about authors, readers, and subject matter. We've got something to say, we want to say it to certain people, and we need to identify who's going to do the talking. Step 1 has 3 elements. I think you need to begin by identifying the authors first. Who's going to actually write and produce the content? In parallel to this, you need to think about the definition of the target readers. Who are they speaking to? And as a result of putting those 2 things together, you'll come up with subject matter that will hopefully be interesting and engaging. In terms of identification of authors, don't fall into the trap of starting with a topic and then try to find somebody who might be able to write something coherent about it. If you're going to get a blog off the ground, look for individuals who don't feel pressured but have enthusiasm, people who want to say something and have interesting things to say, and then try to match that to the demands of the blog. Get writers who perhaps are blogging themselves already or active in other social media. Sometimes the person who's most on Facebook in their personal life will have developed a good conversational style that the organization can harness in the generation of blog content. So talk to people like that, find out what they're passionate about, identify topics that are a good strategic fit, and allow people to develop a style. Good bloggers, are good commentators too. So look for people who, generally speaking, have an opinion. Yeah, that's an important element of good content too. Think about your audience profiling. Who are the target readers of this blog? There's a whole strategic process to go through in terms of segmentation to arrive at that. Don't fall into the trap of talking to yourself. You want to influence key decision makers, generally customers, but maybe not. It might be you're a lobbying organization and the blog is part of your ability to try to influence the outside world and events and policy development. So think about who you don't just want to speak to, but who you want to influence, and have clear segments in mind. Above all, make sure it's a segment that actually reads blogs. Producing a wonderful blog for a group of people who wouldn't dream of ever looking at a blog is pointless. But I have seen that happen in organizations. So think about the target readers and where they are. If you're a tax lawyer, as an example, Don't think about people wanting to see tax all the time. That could be quite dull. Try to be more specific in terms of your target readership. If you're a tax lawyer who does some work in the retail sector on financial matters, for instance, then that could be a more clear focus for the blog. So think about that group of people. Let the audience drive the content. And then that in turn gives you your subject matter. Yeah? You've got authors who have something interesting to say and who know the key stakeholders that you're trying to reach. And this will help you match the content to the target audience. Think about, the themes your blog can cover. Structure it in a way that you have logical sections. Use categories and tags to flag them up. Think about how the audience is going to find and engage with what your authors produce. The second step in the process is thinking about the blog name and design. It's all in branding, yeah? It doesn't matter whether it's for an organization or an individual. You need a name for the blog. You need something that captures what you want to talk about, that is hopefully clever, and, keep it short and sweet too. So, for example, an individual blog that I love reading is amandablaine.com. Amanda is a geek girl. She writes about gaming and all sorts of other technological and social media issues. The branding there is about branding Amanda. So her name is perfect for the style of blog that she does. In the dental profession, Love Teeth is a catchy, entertaining blog produced by dentists, both for each other but also clients of dental practices. So Love Teeth, it's nice and catchy. And Red Rocket, the technology and PR company, check out their site. It's a great example of a social media oriented blog, and it's catchy too. And it's suggesting color, it's suggesting technology. It's all in the name. Don't forget, register the URL. Don't just pick a name, but make sure you have the domain to go with it. Get derivatives of it so people don't produce copycat ones if your domain becomes successful. So don't just get mikenicholson.com, get .net, .org, .co.uk and so on. Protect as many variants as you realistically can on your budget. You never know, you might be producing a runaway success of a blog that others will want to imitate. Design does matter too. Think about the look of the blog and make sure the design, the color scheme, it's all appropriate to the audience and to the subject matter. Look for ways of humanizing the authors, author pictures next to posts. Great. Try to make this the public face of your organization, and don't scrimp. Images are not just about the look of the blog. Images drive search engine optimization too. So think about the whole design piece and make sure it's engaging, it entices people in, and it's powerful. The third stage, preparing the authors for producing the content. Unless you're lucky enough to have some professional blog writers on the staff, most organizations have to develop a capability. And that's about giving people space and encouragement to blog. There are 3 must steps for me that aspiring authors need to keep in mind. First of all, they need to be avid blog readers, not just in your own area, but lots of different areas. They need to look at different styles of blog, different types of content. You need to keep thinking of different things to write about and in different ways. So blog writers need to be good blog readers. I always recommend a pilot. I've advised lots of companies on blogging, and one of the best techniques is, as the house style develops, is initially, for 1 or 2 months, just launch the blog internally. Then make it visible to the outside world once the style has developed. And make sure, above all, that the writer can use the technology. I feel quite passionate about this because some platforms and tools are just too complex. I don't want to think about what buttons to press, what to click on. I just want to think about what I'm writing, what I've got to say. We wouldn't use a telephone that we had to constantly keep changing settings and buttons and pressing all sorts of things, would we? We just want something we can pick up, dial another, and then sit back and speak. Think of it that way in terms of the blog itself. Once you've done those three things, you're ready for the development and deployment to begin. Think about how you're going to get your blog known, how you're going to promote its launch externally. You might want to engage in mail shots to key stakeholders. Get the blog's URL on all relevant stationery, and make sure it's also on email signatures, press releases, absolutely everything. Get the name out there as much as you can. So, in terms of the strategic implementation of a blog, this is what you need to keep in mind. You need authors who are passionate about blogging, who are also good readers of blogs. You need a clear view of who your target audience is. Putting the two together will help you fine-tune the subject matter, the content. Remember, though, it's very, very content hungry. Once you've got all that, think about the name. Make sure it's appropriate, catchy, short and sweet, and wrap it in a nice design for a blog. You know, simplicity is often the best rule here. Think minimalist. My blog is pretty much a plain white page, but it has an interesting header. I put images that are appropriate next to every post to help drive search engine optimization, but also to attract attention to the posts themselves. Give the authors time to prepare and to practice. Consider, if necessary, a private internal blog in the organization first before releasing it to the outside world. And above all, once you do that, think about the launch phase. Deploy it in a strategic way and think about all the different ways you can get the blog known and its presence. You need to make people aware that you're there and have something interesting to say. Then the trick is getting them to come back again and again for more. So that's just a few thoughts on strategic implementation of a social media tool using the example of a blog. But I'm sure you'll agree that basic framework could be applied in many, many different contexts. Thank you.